AI is not going to go away. Gaming is not going to go away. In fact, God designed gaming. He designed us to learn through play. Everything he designs, though, the enemy perverts. And so we look at the video game space as an inroad to actually reach. If you knew where 3.88 billion people showed up every day, wouldn't you want to bring the gospel to that place?
Yeah. Welcome, everybody. This is Simon Gilbert with Inspired. Inspired, if you're new to us, is all about meeting different friends and contacts of mine from across the globe that are doing beautiful stuff in all sorts of different spaces. Listen, I think we've all had enough of the relentless bombardment we get from the 24/7 media cycle. It just makes us more cynical and anxious and depressed and what we need is lashings of good news. And yeah, I want to be inspired. Today, we are going to be inspired, got no doubt, because we've got with us the wonderful Luke Richey. Welcome, Luke.
Thank you for having me, brother.
So good to have you. So Luke is in Washington State, so that's a number of time zones away from me in the UK. But going back, Luke began coding software at 14 years old, including working for NASA. He created loads of successful startups. He's made loads of money. He's lost loads of money. He's made some good choices. He's made some bad choices. We'll hear about them. I love how real he is. He's my kind of guy in his 50s now. I'm 53. And, you know, you've got thousands of skydives. Loves to get bloody in a cage fight. Races his motorcycle in the summer, and in the winter, he's attempting tricks on his snowboard, getting injured. So listen, you've got to start acting your age at some stage, Luke.
At some point, when I can't move anymore, that's the point.
All right. So four children, is that right? 3 grandchildren.
Yeah.
And back in 2007, with your wonderful wife, Jen, you founded Gravity Jack with the vision of developing mobile-based augmented reality. I don't really know what that means. And if you don't know what that means, all will be revealed. Basically, you've been working in the gaming sector and seeing progressively extraordinary doors of influence opening up. And listen, I don't want to say any more. Let's get cracking. Take us way back. Childhood wasn't straightforward, was it? Go for it.
Yeah, my childhood was pretty dark. By the way, if you do see me smiling at any point during this, it's because I know the end of the story. Mm-hmm. So when I think of some of these things in my past, I actually, one, know that the Lord has used them to heal other people. And two, I would do it 1,000 times again because I've seen the fruit of some of the suffering that I had to go through. But I was abused in every capacity that you can imagine. So just name the category, and that was something that I went through. There was sexual abuse to physical abuse to verbal abuse and what it produced in me was, and I think there's kind of 3 paths that can be taken. 1, somebody leans into God. Or 2, you get really, really angry, full of hate. Or 3, you become those things. And I got full of hate and violent. And the problem was I was also gifted with a level of intelligence and really just this desire to seek what rules I could break and get away with. Mm-hmm. So I think even entrepreneurialism was just a result of like, hey, this is the least risky path, if I run the math, to making money. And I definitely worshiped money. Money was my God all the way up until I was over 40. Well, I'll get to that part of the story. But I was super angry. I did a lot of criminal enterprises, from selling drugs to forgeries to a lot of hacking, like borderline black hat. When I was 17, I did hack the DMV. I hope I'm on the statute of limitations on this, but gave myself a fake ID. I did everything you could do being a 21-year-old at 17, which is drinking, and got a tattoo, moved out of my home. And my dad was very violent, and he also professed Christ. So my hatred didn't just extend to him, it actually extended to God too. And I never had a doubt that he was real. I'd had experiences even as a child on the darker side of the spiritual stuff. So I knew he was real. Plus, as I started to learn, because I would cross-study. I studied microbiology, genetics, neurology, computer science. And I was like, this is code. I mean, genes are literally one of the coolest sets of code I've ever seen. So I never doubted he was there. I just didn't like him. Like you said, I went through just a number of businesses. I mean, the professional side, I can see it now. God was always just setting up. And I think at any point I could have chose him, and then the setup would have still been there. But I was just arrogant, violent, all the things, narcissistic, manipulative. I met my wife when she was just coming off student status skydiving. And I think if I hadn't met her, I probably would either be dead or definitely still living in this brokenness it's hard to describe. She's just an amazing person. We do business together. We've done business for 25 years together. She didn't know the Lord either, but she just had something really special inside her. And I was like, man, I really like this girl. Like, I would like to be a different person for her. By the way, that doesn't work. Like, you have to have Christ in the mix. You just can't. You can do small little tweaks. And we had our first daughter, and when she was born, we were meeting. We're like, we really don't want them to do drugs like us and party like us and skydive like us. Oh, by the way, my wife also rides a sport bike. The only thing she doesn't do is MMA, and that's because she thinks it's gross and sweaty. And but I remember there was a moment when we were down in the desert in California, and I'm going close to 300 kilometers an hour, and she just comes cruising by me on her sport bike. And I was like, oh, I'm marrying this girl. Like,
back to giving birth, you didn't even want to be there, did you?
Well, I actually didn't know you were supposed to be. So I had a first marriage, and that one I was not at the birth of our daughter there. I was high on meth, and the reason I did meth is so I could work about 20 hours a day. I was running a business at the time that we'd grown up from 0 to 12 million a year in a year, and I was slowly taking over the whole area in this wholesale category. And I was using techniques that you just shouldn't use in business, and I get a call that, oh, Rebecca's in the hospital, your daughter's going to be born. And I was high at the time. And so I go to the hospital, and I remember holding this little girl in my arms. And I think it was the first moment I'd felt something like really unselfish. And I laid down, and she was laying down on the bed next to me, and I was just staring at this little face of this little human. I remember thinking, how can I be different? And at that moment, she barfed in my mouth. But I remember it didn't gross me out. So I was like, wow, this human just barfed on me. And I didn't but that was like this dawning moment. And then I meet Jen a year later. And I wasn't living with my wife at the time. We were actually divorcing. So Jen gets pregnant, and she's having the baby. And we had this discussion about church. We're like, hey, let's go to church. We don't want our kids to be like us. So that's kind of the hook that God had. And from there on out, we really didn't do much more. I used church as an excuse to sleep. I was typically hungover. At one point, I thought, hey, there's some good business contacts here. If I learn some lingo, I can get some work stuff out of it. But at about age 40, he really started to break me down. I was training for a fight. Not because I was doing it. I got to train with professional UFC fighters, but it was not because I would have ever been professional. I just got beat up a lot. But I actually even enjoyed that. I had massive neck damage from the skydives, motorcycle wrecks, just the way I'd lived. I went to the neurologist, and he's like, you're like 8 months from being paraplegic. The arthritis is growing on your spinal column. And he's like, whatever you do, and he didn't know I was actually going to do a cage match in 2 weeks. He goes, whatever you do, just don't get punched like right here. And I fought anyways, but it really did wreck me. I did win, but which is probably good because I think he could have torn me apart. But this was a setup for the first miracle. This is one in a physical realm. So there was no fix for what I had. It was essentially, in the United States, they just fuse everything. I go back to that neurologist, and he's like, you're an idiot. I can't believe you fought. He goes, but let me tell you, and he goes, I'll deny this if you ever ask this, but there is a guy in Germany who invented the artificial disc, and he can do your whole neck, but nobody else here can. He goes, but I can't legally tell you that. So, long story short, I get a surgery set for October 17th, 2017. The reason that date's interesting is during that summer, Jen and I just were not doing well. So God is stripping me of all these false identities. Mm-hmm. And Jen and I basically just we're not really meant to be together. We start drifting apart. And that to me really broke me because I always thought, well, I could lose everything, but I'll never lose what Jen and I have because we're so uniquely positioned to be married. And like, we love all the same things. And I remember she told me on a date, she's like, I just want one thing for my birthday. She's like, I just want you to be kind. And I set on this mission in 2017 to be kind. And I couldn't be. It wasn't in me. I was just this I was a mean person. It got to a point where we were partying so hard and drinking so much. Before my surgery, I actually just decided to take my life. And this is where I remember I was going to counseling. I was telling these counselors, I just don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be on this planet. I'm sick of the simulation. I'm tired of it all. Jen flew to New York to go to an event, and I took my life. And I say I took my life because there's just no way I survived. This is a total miracle. I took an 8-ball of cocaine, which is a lot of cocaine. That's like how much you'd use for a group of people for a night, like a party. A bottle of vodka, 8 Xanax that I had, an entire bottle of Oxycontin, and half a bottle of morphine. And these were things that I had because I was in so much pain and all the surgeries and stuff. So, and these are high doses too. So there was just no way to live. And it's so interesting because I did say a prayer right before, and I consumed all this in 10 to 15 minutes, and I wrote on my suicide note, F you. And I don't even remember who I was telling to F off, like just maybe the world. I laid down to die, and I remember the last words that came out of my mouth as I said, God, please don't send me to hell. And then a few days later, I'm not sure if it was actually 1 or 2 days later, I don't actually know the timeline, but I lived through this somehow. You know, I know somebody might be listening like, oh, because I've actually thought through this. Maybe the interactions of the chemicals canceled this one and this one canceled this one. I'm like, but don't you think it's convenient that I took exactly the perfect amounts to like cancel each other? I mean, let's replicate the experiment if you're sure of it. Like, no, please don't do that. It's not like it was a miracle. And Jen flies home from New York. She pulls me out of bed and she's just angry. She's like, what did you do? And I can't speak because my face, I probably looked like a stroke victim. I could barely move my body. And I just remember falling to the ground, sitting up on my knees and crying and cursing God. I can't repeat what I said because it breaks my heart now, but I just cursed him. I was like, you stole my free will. A week after that, we end up in this church that we'd gone to a couple times. Or actually, let me back up. So it's Saturday night and I have a dream. And in this dream, I'm standing in a field of flowers. This is like 6 days after taking my life and living. And I have this dream. And I'm standing in this field of flowers. And I'm not kidding you, Simon. It was the coolest scene you've ever seen. And I'm so at peace. I feel like it was the first time I'd ever really known peace. Like actually sentiently, I'm at peace. This is peace. And it's wall-to-wall flowers, 360 degrees, and these blue skies like you can't imagine. And I'm looking around, and I look down at the ground, and darkness starts to come up. It's like Vanta Black. I don't know if you've seen that paint. It's really rad. It absorbs all the light. But this blackness comes up, and it scares me, like, deeply. And this darkness is so scary, and it's starting to rise up to my knees, and then I wake up. And I wake up, and it's Sunday morning. And I'm like, I'm going to church. So we go to this little church here in Spokane, and it's run by Joe and Betsy, who are now dear friends of ours. Betsy's this little Mexican gal, just like a fireball, super prophetic, awesome, but didn't really know us that well. I show up at church, and we walk through the door, and they're always there greeting. And she goes, Luke, afterwards, don't leave. God told me to tell you something, and I have a word for you. And so immediately I'm like, I got to get out of here. Like, there's no way I'm staying. I'm sitting in the service. And can I use like a minor cuss word here? Because it's actually kind of important to the story.
Yeah, great.
So I was sitting in the service thinking my life is and I'm like, let's see you stop me from shooting myself in the head, God. And, we're in the USA, lots of guns. I'm like, I'm going to put a bullet in my head. Next few days, nobody's home. I'm like, this is. The service ends, and she's up at the front, and I'm trying to sneak out. I'm grabbing the kids, and I'm like, let's go. We're out of here. And she turns. I don't even know how she knew. And she looks me dead in the eyes, and she goes, wait. But, like, she said it with an authority, too. Like, and I kind of like, okay, I'm going to wait. Like, this little Mexican gal just told me to wait. So we wait, and then she comes up and she goes, Jen, Luke, will you come back here? And our kids were playing with some other kids. And we go back in the room, and she's like, Luke, she goes, I had a dream last night. She goes, I'm going to share it with you. She said, in this dream, you and Jennifer are standing in a field of flowers, and it stretches from horizon to horizon. And so now I'm like, what? Because the only person I told about this dream was Jen on the way to church. And we weren't even in a good spot. We're not in a good spot at all. And so she wasn't in my dream, but in Betsy's dream, Jen's also in the dream, which I thought was pretty significant. And she goes, that field of flowers is fertilized by the of your life. She goes, and it's going to be fertilizer for generations. And she goes, and I'm really sorry for using this word. She goes, because I don't use this word, but God told me to use this word. And she said, he told me to tell you you're done with this. And she kind of cringed at each time she said it, because she's just not, like, if you knew her, like, I've never heard her say anything even close to this. And she said, so I apologize for that, but he said to use that specifically. And I knew why, because I was literally repeating it verbatim in my mind. And then she just did the weirdest thing that at the time, that blew my mind. And she puts her hand on my forehead, and she said, Spirit of death. And I haven't said a word, by the way. She said, Spirit of death, leave Luke Richey right now in the name of Jesus. And at that moment, I felt stuff move inside my brain. I don't know how to, I've actually looked back, like, what's the scientific explanation for this, Lord? Don't know if there is one. If you just redefine my neural pathways, it almost felt electric, but we were extremely low wattage in the brain, so I don't know. But something moved, and I felt it, and I felt a little woozy for a second. Then I just started weeping, and I walked out. I didn't say a word to her. Wow. And I get in the car, and I'm sitting behind the wheel, and Jennifer gets in. And I tell her, I'm like, hey, Jenna, I can't find suicide. She goes, what do you mean? I go, I like literally can't want to die. I can't, like, and I'm like, I can't even like verbalize the words. Like, it's gone from my brain. Something just happened to me. She said, you're an idiot. Stop trying to find it. Like, if it's gone, it's gone. This is who she is. Very blunt and wise at the same time. And I was like, huh. So the weird part is I sit with this inability to want to die, but also no self-worth. So God, I'm in this weird spot. Just one little side story about Joe and Betsy and that little church. I find this out later. Joe's sitting with me and he goes, God is just so awesome how he answers prayer. He mountain bikes. So we live on the lake and we were next to a bunch of trails, and he mountain bikes past our house. Like, he's done it for years. In fact, I think it's how I met him and ended up in his church. He's like, oh, I'm a pastor. You should come to my church, because he was riding by my driveway. What he told me is, he goes, for 7 years after the first time you came to our church, every time I'd ride past your house, which is 3 to 4 times a week, he goes, I'd stop in your driveway and I'd reach my hand out towards your house and I'd say, God, I know you have something more for these two.
Wow. Deliver
it, bring it, like, draw them to you. And so I think it was his, probably also my mom's, but, and that's because he's on the ground, like, saying, like, on the property, get these two. Yeah. Just cool.
Prayers of righteous people are powerful and effective.
Yeah. Amen.
Hey, folks. As you know, this podcast comes out under the auspices of Great Lakes Outreach, and we're working in Burundi, which is a beautiful country that's got so many challenges. Listen, this is the toughest time of year as a parent, because schooling apparently is free in Burundi, but you have to provide the uniform, the books, the pens, that sort of thing. And that prohibits a whole bunch of people going to school. I've got 3 kids, and can you imagine that you can only afford to send 1 kid, and you have to choose which one? That's the sort of dilemma lots of our ministry partners are in, and I just cannot imagine being faced with that choice. So we've got just under 1,000 people through the 30 organizations we support out there. And so could you sponsor 1 family or 3 families, 5 families, 10 families, whatever? That'd be wonderful. GreatLakesOutreach.org. back to school if you want to sponsor 1, 3, 5, 10 families, whatever. And so that we can take away the stress of these precious, precious co-workers. You know, one colleague said to me this, I hate it that often it's ministry families who are the first drop out of school. That is so wrong, isn't it? So not on our watch, that's not going to happen. Please support one family or a few at greatlakesoutreach.org /back to school. It's about £40, $50 a pop. That'd be wonderful. And let's see all these kids get a good education. And education means they've got a good chance in life. All right. Thanks so much for your consideration. Now let's get back to the podcast.
Then we go, I find this doctor. So I'm now back to this part. This is October. And God takes me, and this is a natural miracle. But I'm telling you, this guy, Dr. Bertinoli, is a medical miracle worker. And I've seen some of his other stuff that he's done. And I tell my mom this. I'm like, hey, Mom. So she's also got a broken neck. My dad broke her neck when I was a child. He pushed her through a wall. And so she's got steel and all these things and screws everywhere. Miracle that she survived. My biological dad, my stepdad, is a whole awesome story in and of itself, who has now also adopted me. So my dad. But I told my mom, I go, hey, I'm going to Germany. I'm getting my neck fixed. Can't be done in the United States. Bring your MRIs, come with us. You can help take care of me, but bring your MRIs because this guy can fix you. And she's like, nobody could fix me. I could go, I've gone to Johns Hopkins, Mayo Clinic, Texas Spine Institute, the best places in the world. My non-biological father does well. And so he took her everywhere. I go, no, just bring your MRIs because this guy's amazing. Long story short, he fixes me completely. Like he actually opens me up, puts new titanium discs in. I look like Wolverine on a X-ray. It's so cool. And peels off all the arthritis in between all the joints. So all the crunching and moving that happens. And I got an inch of height back. So long story short, he also fixes my mom in 3 months. So my mom, who hadn't been off drugs in 20 years, so heavy painkillers, is now maybe takes a Tylenol for a headache every once in a while. Wow. I also know, actually, though, I wake up, it's a horribly painful surgery that I went through. I feel like my head got chopped off and reattached. But I also knew this was a miracle. I'm like, and I wanted to thank God for it. But I was kind of like, well, I paid for it. Like out of pocket. Actually, insurance didn't cover it. So I'm like, is it really you or is it me? But you see that now I at least have this heart. I'm like kind of trying to I should give you glory for this, but I'm going to take the glory. We just continue to move and stuff just gets worse between Jen and I. And I try and try and try. Like I'm like, I'll start cleaning more. But it's just, there was no reality behind it. And so she could definitely sense that. Finally, I gave up also. And Jen is not really a seer. She doesn't see a lot of visions or spiritual things. But it was 2018. I've never shared this anywhere, actually. But it was 2018, and we're on a beach in Hawaii. We'd taken a vacation because we're like, let's just try one more time. And plus, it's Hawaii. So we're on the beach. And she's sitting there, and all of a sudden, she just looks like she's spaced off, somewhere. I'm like, Jen. And she comes back and she goes, I just saw a vision. I go, what do you mean? And she goes, I just saw a vision of us in the future. And she goes, it's not like what we had. We had something cool, but something so amazingly different. And she goes, and there's someone in the middle. And I'm like, what? She goes, yeah, God's in the middle. And she goes, and there's trust, and there's love, and there's compassion, and there's something. She goes, I don't even know how to describe what I just saw. And I said, you're crazy. That'll never happen. I'll never trust you. You'll never trust me again. That'll never happen. We'll never even get close to what we had. But the thing is God had planted something in her to give her hope for this much longer phase this phase that had to come. And so pretty much from that moment on, I gave up, and I was like, I'm just going to be mean till she leaves. Because I'm back to my 1,000 times rule. I hurt you, you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you 1,000 times more. My birthday, January 7th, 2019, we're talking a lot about divorce now. we've also been talking a lot about how we're going to run the businesses, because we're like, well, we do business together really well. So here's how we're going to handle the kids. We're going to keep doing business together because we're good at it, even though we're going through a rough time in it. And she goes to bed before me. And I walk into the bedroom, and I remember I put on my pajamas. I sit down on the bed, and I lay down, and then I sit back up. But I keep going. And I look, and my body's still down. And then I'm very scared at this point, but also not, because I've had those experiences before. And every time I've had those experiences, everything was really dark. And in fact, when I was a child, I called it the upside down. I was the same thing Stranger Things calls it. I would tell my mom, I went to the upside down, and you couldn't move, and you're out of body experience. But this time, when I pop out, I'm looking around, and everything's light. So the dimensions are slightly off. Everything's kind of skewed. It's like your brain's trying to make sense of an additional dimension or something. The reality is I could sense I wasn't in that place that I went to as a child. And so I said, okay, God, I'm really scared right now. But if this is you, or if this isn't you, please put me back. If it is you, let's go. There was also kind of like an excitement, like, oh, this could be God doing this. And because I felt that peace, like that same peace in that dream. And sure enough, so I start kind of moving slowly, and I pop through my ceiling. And I'm not a construction guy. I don't know anything about this. I just find this really interesting that I never knew there was like a little space between our roof and bedroom. And there's like a little attic, and it's full of like insulation and newspaper crap and wires. And I'm like, did not know this was up here. I push through the roof. I see the lake, and then all of a sudden I'm moving at speed. And I'm moving at speed through the universe. Don't know what direction really. I kind of try to think like, which was he? Is there a star he took me to? I don't know. But I end up, boom, I'm on this place. And I actually call it the solid ground, because it was just like, it didn't even look like there was curvature on this place, because wherever he took me was so large. And I've stood in places where you can start to kind of see the curvature of the earth, but this place was too big. And so the horizon was too far for my eyes to determine. And I look up, and there's these clouds. The sky is not blue like ours. It was darker, almost gray, but not gloomy. And there's these clouds, and this light's starting to grow in strength behind these clouds. And then they start to peel apart, and I see the back of a head. And I know who it is, and I'm instantly afraid. I can just feel his presence up there. And then as he starts to turn his face towards me, I see his cheekbone, and I freak out. I freak out. I fall to the ground, and I'm on my knees, and I'm like this. I yell, "Don't look at me. Don't look at me." And now I know he's looking at me, and I can feel him looking at me. And light starts to hit me, and I'm doing this. I'm like so afraid. I'm like tensed up in fear. Like the presence of God is now looking at me. Mm. And the light's hitting me, and this particles, I start to feel this love. I actually start to see it fill me. And then he says 4 words audibly to me, and he said, "I love you, Luke." At this moment, I realized the light actually filling me, there's physics behind it. The love is light. This love is emanating from him. It's actually a part of him. Like this kind of understanding comes into me. And then he says in my mind, and this is just a drop, "If I were to show you it all, I would kill you." I hear him through whatever kind of ears I had. I hear him in my mind. And then he speaks to me in a way that now I know, I recognize it as his voice later. He gives me an understanding of something, and he speaks. And for a minute, I have this understanding of the infinite love that he has for me. And it also gives me this understanding that he has this love for everybody. Like you can't reach the end of it. Like I wish, I feel like it was a cheat code for submission to God, because I understand how much he loves me. I'll never be able to undo this moment in my life. And I instantly had self-worth, because how can you not have self-worth when a being this powerful who can take me someplace and then says, hey, I love you. Do you know that? And let me show you how far it stretches. You can't even say it doesn't stop. Like, it actually, there's no end to how far that love stretches. Like, he gave me a sense of the physicality of it, and it was mind blowing. And so I don't ever look at him, but then I'm just, boom, I'm instantly back. And I sit back up, and I grab Jen, and I wake her up. I feel bad. I'm like, Jen, you will never guess what happened to me. And I tell her, and I'd like to say that I immediately submitted right there, but I actually had this is how broken I was. I thought, oh, I'm so special to the God of the universe. Like, this is a disgusting way to think, but I'm just being super honest here. I was like, I'm so special to God of the universe. He took me somewhere, told me he loves me. And I literally told Jen, I'm like, yeah, we're done. We're so done because I don't need you. Like, I used to need you to feel something in me, and I don't need you for that anymore. It's craziness. But I didn't. I also thought, well, I don't really even need him. So early in March, we decided to separate. So I move into my mom's house. And this is 2019. Again, we're still going to do business. We travel to Seattle. We're pitching a big Japanese company and the CEO, who's also a billionaire. We're staying in the same room, but we separate beds because, we're going to divorce now. Again, I lay down to go to sleep, and I've taken sleeping pills because I need to make sure we sleep. This is an important meeting the next day, and I never slept that entire night. God doesn't take me this time, but he just gives me visions, waking visions of my sin for my whole life, every single one of them. And, there's a scene, I don't know if you've ever seen The Crow with Brandon Lee, just breaking this up for a second. There's a scene where he gives the pain of his wife's death to the guy who kills her. And he's like, all the pain, all at once. I feel like that's what it was, because when you see your sin, every single one from the time you were a boy, and then as he would show me a sin, I would also get that sense of the ramifications and the ripple effects that it had on the other people, and then the people that affected, then that affected. And you see the wreckage of, you understand what he means when he says sin is death. But I was like this huge perpetrator of it, like a giant perpetrator of it. I saw every moment I'd hurt my children, every moment I'd crushed my wife, every time the revenge. And I mean, I don't even know what you do with that, but that broke the final thing in me, and I didn't know what to do for 6 days. I sat in my mom's basement. They were on vacation in Israel, and I sat there. And finally, on March 16th, which I just think it's cool, it's 3/16. On March 16th, I said, God, I don't know how I carry this weight. You took away my ability to kill myself. You told me you love me. But now you've shown me this. I don't know what to do. And say, I hadn't clearly been listening in church. But I just said these words. I said, Jesus, save me. If you are who you say you are, save me. And then I said it in more intensity. If you are who you say you are, save me. And then I was screaming it. And I screamed that literally till I lost my voice and fell asleep at some point. I woke up the next morning. I can't explain this really, but I knew I was born again. The shame was gone. The pain was gone. I actually understood what manipulation was. I understood what narcissism was. I understood what pride was. I understood all of these things. It's like years of wool had been peeled back from my eyes. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's happened? Like, what's happened in my brain inside me? And I hear a still small voice, you're born again. And even, Simon, the colors, I open up the windows in the basement, and I'm like, the colors look different. These trees look greener. I don't know how to describe that moment other than I hear it. It's like half audible, but half also in my mind. He said, I'm going to heal 40 years of pain in 40 days. I was like, okay. The next 40 days, there were so many miracles and so many crazy things happening. The one miracle I'll share, which is pretty weird, I didn't really have to sleep. So I would go to sleep about 2, 3 a.m., and God would wake me up at 4:18 every single morning. And there's a whole slew of, like, I didn't know that, like, God also spoke through numbers, but he would wake me up at 4:18. 4:18, he would speak to me. He'd go, here in the Bible, go look at this in the Bible. And I would have an understanding of it. Like, I could never, even to this day, I'll go read the word, and it wasn't like those 40 days. At one point, I wakes me up and it's 4:18, and then I was like, oh, Lord, is there a reason you're waking me up at this time? Because it would be funnier if it was 4:20, because 4:20 is the weed thing here. And I said, why? And he said, John 4:18. And so because I was a noob, I went to 1 John 4:18. Also, the Bible uses zero-based arrays. That was kind of strange. Like, there should be a John 1, 2, 3, not John 0, 1, 2. But that's a whole nother thing. And it's like, I'm like, oh, this is about love. I'm like, yeah, I get that. It's cool scripture. He's like, no, John 4:18. I'm like, oh, okay, there's a different one. It's a really interesting verse. It says, and the man you are with now is not your husband. I'm like, well, I'm not with a man. And he's like, no, this is for your wife. This is for Jennifer. And I'm like, Lord, there's no way I'm giving her that scripture. I get what you're saying. I'm not that man she married. I go, but there's just no way. Because one, that's super manipulative. Like, we're not even planning on getting back together. So he just told me to write it down. So I wrote it down. And as I was writing it down, he said, you're going to be home on 4:18 also. And I'm like, okay, I'll write that down too. But there's no way I'm going to, one, show this to her, because I could never manipulate her like that again. Not for my own ends. And frankly, she probably deserves somebody else better and whatever. But what I did do is I wrapped it up and I put it in a flower, and I gave her this flower. Because I thought, well, if I'm somewhere, if I'm traveling, if something happens and this comes true, I can have her, pull this out from the bottom of these roots and read the sheet of paper.
Hi, Simon. I just wanted to let you know that I listen to the Inspired podcast every week. It's a massive encouragement for me personally, and I've shared it with loads of other people. Sometimes I share it with our whole church WhatsApp group, and I've had great feedback from that. But I think the biggest encouragement to me has been listening to some of the podcasts on long car journeys with my wife and our 3 kids. Started doing it when the youngest was about 7. The eldest is now 14. And my boys asked if they could give some of their pocket money in response to some of the appeals that you've made in the podcasts. And it's been such a joy as a family to set up a regular small gift and to hear how across the thousands of people who listen to the podcast that's being multiplied and really making a difference in Burundi. It brings such a joy to us to hear about the impact both of the podcast and of Great Lakes Outreach. Thank you so much for all you do.
And that moment when I was holding little Abby, the space, so I think it was like April something, like 11th or 12th, I have this dream. And I'm at my mom's still planning on divorcing. I changed the sheets of the bed because Jen's going to come stay and I'm going to go stay with the kids. So we're doing this swap-a-roo. So we, less trauma on the kids instead of me bringing the kids to my mom's. So I sleep on the couch that night because I don't want to redo the sheets and I want to give her clean sheets, which I would have never done before, by the way. I would have just left them. And I lay down, I go to sleep, I have this dream, and in the dream, Jen comes over. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And she lays down beside me, and I reach and I grab her face, and she just kisses me. But then, this is the dream, she vomits in my mouth. So it's just like this memory somehow of Abby coming back, but it's my wife in this, and they're all tears, like just lots and lots of tears, and I swallow them. And I'm like, why is she crying so much? But then I wake up and my hands, I'm actually on the couch like this, holding nothing. And I was like, Lord, this feels spiritually significant. And he's like, it is. And so I Facebook messaged my mom. She's still in Israel. And I'm like, Mom, there's this dream I had. She doesn't send me what she thinks because she'll pray on it and interpret. And so I go over to the house. We swap houses. And this is the same day I've had the dream. I walk in through the garage door. The kids are like, Dad, whatever. And Jen's like, hey, see you in a couple days. Right. And she walks past me, doesn't even look at me. And then she stops at the garage door and she pauses. So I'm standing and I'm kind of like, what do I do at this moment? Super awkward because she's staring at the garage door with her hand on the door. She turns around and looks at me. I'm like, oh no, I did something like this. I've never even seen this. I don't even know what this look is. And she comes over to me and she grabs my face and she looks at me and tears start to squirt out of her eyes. Like I've never seen somebody cry like this. They're like literally hitting me. And then she just kisses me like just on the lips. And all these tears are flowing into my mouth. And I don't swallow them. But this is the dream. But she's holding my face. And I'll tell you this, I'd only ever seen Jen cry once before that day. She's a very tough person. She's not anymore. Like, backing up, when I woke up that day, I called Jen. This is the craziest part. I forgot part of the story. When I woke up that day, I called Jen. I said, hey, something happened to me last night. I've been born again. And she told me, she goes, something happened to me last night. And she goes, I was on my face before God, repenting. And even that, for her to use that word, Jen didn't say sorry, and she didn't cry. Like those were two things that didn't happen in her life. And so like God moved in both our lives on the same actual night. But yeah, so she's holding my face and crying, and then you're hitting me like pop, 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 like raindrops, and also going into my mouth. And then she just lets go and walks back through the door. And I was like, what was that? Like later that night, my mom sends back the message. And what was kind of cool is we had this timestamp. So I was able to share this with Jen. I was like, one, can I share this, Lord? And he's like, yes. I'm like, hey, I dreamt that moment just a little differently. But the interpretation was me taking in that pain that I'd caused. And like she finally released this torrent of this storage of this pain. Long story short, I was not going to pursue because I didn't want to manipulate, but she starts pursuing. And it's 4:17 and she calls me and she said, this other woman doesn't get you. I go, whoa, there's no other woman. I don't even know. What are you talking about? Like, first off, there wasn't anybody else. Like there never has been. But I got scared. She thought I was with somebody. And she's like, no. She goes, I don't even know. You probably don't even know who she is yet, but whoever she is, she doesn't get this new version. She goes, and I've talked to the kids. You're going to come home tomorrow.
Wow.
So I go, you got to read this thing in the pot. Gotta go read this thing in the pot. Nice. And then the coolest part about all this is he starts to move in our family. And we went through some really, really hard times, but we got to walk with the Father in them. March 16th, 2019 was exactly 1 year to the date before Washington State shut down for COVID. In that year-long process, we had a revival in our family. Aunts, uncles, sister, my Jewish father, stepdad, comes my dad. It was so powerful what God did in our family. We would go get together and worship 3 to 4 nights a week. Because what else do you do when he's moving and people are being healed and you're just witnessing this thing happen? And then COVID happens and they shut down Washington State. I live right by Idaho, though. Idaho was totally normal. It's a whole nother story. We had this mass revival. So when this church was shut down, it actually really didn't even affect us. We still worship this many days a week. But we did actually start, I actually was like, oh, Lord, there's probably a reason you did all this. Like what? One, ever, forever, eternally grateful. Especially when you know the magnitude of your sin. I really, really hope on judgment I don't have to sit through it again. I feel like I get a preview of that moment because I don't want to. I know it's all forgiven. I know it's all on the cross, but man, I don't want to sit through it again. It's rough. It's brutal. Everybody's going to have to do that. That's the thing. The Bible's clear that actually that comes for everybody. I'll just tell you, lower the content of those as much as you can. And we started asking, why did you do this, God? There's levels of gratitude can't be measured. But he's just started to reveal that he'd been in our lives the entire time. He was there suffering with me as a child. He was there suffering with my wife when I'd hurt her. He was there in every moment, but he also knew the moment that we'd turn our hearts towards him and that he'd turn his face towards us. And he was just aligning pieces, like all these, I'd write patents and I'd write them from dreams. And I just thought I was just this really smart guy who dreamed patents. And he showed me, those were all from me. Everything, all the pieces, even your capacity to understand assembler at 14 is from me. Your breath, the breath that you're breathing is from me. And if I can do all that, don't you think I can make it so that even though you make these really dumb choices consistently, and I still do, especially when I don't bring it to prayer, he's like, I can still reach my will. Yeah, so he's also called us for something. I'm thankful that there's a calling, both on me and my kids. My teenagers became a part of this, like teenagers accepting Christ. That's crazy. Like, you have to understand the level of miracles that started happening. You couldn't say no. That alone is a miracle. A teenager accepted Christ. Anyway, I know time's running out. So I do want to get to the calling part. It's an amazing calling. So augmented reality is the capability of putting digital content into the real world. So you actually modify the real world. In 2008, when the App Store came out and iPhones were kind of coming up, I actually told Jen these are really dumb devices. And because they make really poor augmented reality interfaces. And, everybody saw the Apple Vision Pro. That's a version 1, but there is a world coming where you're going to put on glasses that are as small as readers, and you're going to see digital content in your real space. You'll eliminate the need for screens. And so we've always kind of been building towards this future. The problem with that industry was always content creation. Content creation is super expensive. In fact, I built a company that made, tens of millions just on content creation. But AI has changed all that. And it's changing it rapidly. So what you're going to see is this convergence, one of AI being the interface for these devices, but also the thing that creates the content that displays in the real world. And that has mass ramifications for gaming. It has spiritual ramifications. And again, we've been in the gaming space. This is all God too. But I'm friends with the father of video games, Nolan Bushnell. This is the only guy in the world to ever hire Steve Jobs. The only job Steve ever worked was for Nolan. So we're very, very tied into the video game industry. But it's also the darkest place, I think, digitally. You have 3.88 billion gamers now on planet, and that means they're playing at least daily. 63% of Generation Alpha and Z human trafficking victims come through digital chat and gaming systems. Suicide is up. In fact, every 3 minutes now, a youth is taking their life due to things like sextortion. There's now a special category for suicide in youth ages 5. So you got 5-year-olds taking their life. That didn't exist 30 years ago. Didn't exist. And that's the enemy's. It's the enemy's playground. And the reality is the church. And it's kind of interesting that I'm not really in the church, but then God brings me and he gives me a mission with the body, which is, let's redeem this space. It's not going to go away. AI is not going to go away. Gaming is not going to go away. In fact, God designed gaming. He designed us to learn through play with dopamine responses. Everything he designs, though, the enemy perverts. And when Christians pull out of a space and they're like, hey, we just can't be here because it's not safe, you get pornography being the dominant thing on the internet because we pulled out of the internet. We didn't even jump in it until after. It's like the church used to be like science came from the church. It came from the great thinkers, Newton. And now we're behind the curve. And I think I don't think, I actually know he brought us in to be ahead of the curve for once. But it's like this really, really intense, tough battle. You have $5 billion a year being spent by the enemy for a $300 billion industry. Gaming is bigger than music, sports, and movies combined. Like that just tells you how big it is. So there's a lot of Gen Zers or baby boomers who don't understand how big this. But I try to explain it like this. Gen Alpha, when they're your age, isn't going to golf. They're going to play video games with their friends. We're already seeing with millennials, like you get a retired millennial, you know what they do? They video game. There's parts of it that are bad, but there's also parts of it that are really powerful. And so we look at the video game space as an inroad to actually reach. If you knew where 3.88 billion people showed up every day, wouldn't you want to bring the gospel to that place?
Yeah.
Like, that's the crazy part. So, but the church is like, I can't be in gaming. But we literally know where they are every day. Like, and you talk about declining youth in churches because they're not going to walk through the church doors. Now, I know digital churches that run on Discord that have like 500,000 people show up on Sunday. Like, imagine that. Like, but people don't even hear about this stuff. So there's a scale possible. And that's what we're doing in our current company, Haven. We're like, but how do we build this safe? Platforms like Roblox, there's no interest actually in making it safe. I happen to know they have press release ready stuff when there's some issues. If a child takes their life, okay, we release this parental tool. So they actually have these things ready in advance so that they can just cover a press need. There's actually no concern for the safety. There's no remorse that a child got sextorted on their platform. And it's a massive problem. From financial crimes, sextortion, grooming, human trafficking, child pornography, all of that, and just porn. And then gaming itself creates this. Now, we've been in this industry a long time. When you do a game that is predatory on your dopamine loops, it creates an addiction cycle and a shame cycle. And that predatory dopamine loop looks the same inside gambling, drug use, pornography, whatever you name it. It's the exact same cycle. And gaming is the hook where he trains them to be addicted to this dopamine cycle at a very young age. So we're combating that at scale with a very bold idea that is getting traction like I've never seen anything we've ever done get traction. And essentially, we're building a platform that combines like Discord and Steam. We curate the games so they can't be predatory on dopamine. They can't be predatory on finances because that's the same dopamine loop. And they can't be sexual in nature. And that's our definition of wholesome. So already I've eliminated most of the church being for what we're doing. But it's really what we need to do. Like that category already, you actually, when you do those three things and you look at a game, there's actually somebody probably intentionally behind that game trying to just have fun. When you do these other things, it's like, oh, if it's financially predatory, it's because it's probably AAA. It's a big studio. They have to do that. They serve that God money. But there's a whole slew of indie developers that just want to make games that are really fun, especially coming from Gen Alpha and Z. Like these are the kids that are going to build the next games, and they're going to build it with AI because it's going to be so easy. And we're building that platform that they can do it in while we guide them in concepts that really protect them and create a framework that it's impossible for bad guys to operate on.
Come on.
We've got partners over in the UK like SafetyNet who's doing CSAM detection. You can't send porn. You can't send child porn on our platform. It's just, you can't even like look at it. And then we use AIs. This is the really interesting thing. And this isn't the selling point of the platform, but it's like if you're designing something with safety first as a design, we're like, there's these huge needs in this people group. They're anxious, they're lonely, they've been predated on. How do we actually service that, not with AI, but with a real human? And so what our AIs do is as you're chatting with your buddies, we can detect sentiment and crazy amounts of sentiment. So with 98% accuracy, if they never even use the word suicide, I can tell you if they're ideating on suicide. It's really, I can't tell you that. The AIs can tell you that. And I've looked at some of the things where it's accurately identified somebody ideating on suicide. You would never, a human would never know this. It's like But because it's been trained on people it does know, it knows these people, they use the same somethings, like same cadence, word phraseology. What we do is when we recognize these moments, somebody's anxious, lonely, if at the lowest tier, we just bring a player with really good vibes along to play with them. Like, let's just solve the loneliness problem. At the higher tier of suicidal ideation, we connect them with a live partner worldwide from one of the nonprofits we work with.
Wow.
So it's like this, what if you just started loving? What if we radically served the developers that are on our platform? What if we radically serve the users? And what if we put people above profit? I actually think you see more profit over time. And there's studies that show this. If you actually are intentional about both, I need to have profit so that I can continue to do the work. Human flourishing, the lifetime value of that player. Oh, actually, I'll just explain it in lifetime value. In the gaming world, we use LTV. If I were to go pitch a game to a publishing house, I would explain my LTV is between 6 months and 12 months. If I go above 12 months, meaning I have a lifetime value that extends past that, they're like, you're not monetizing them enough. So they actually force you into a predatory mechanism where people end up hating your game because you're like, you got to scrape as much as you can out of them until they hate you. That's actually the philosophy that
so dark.
Gaming has now. So, but what you don't realize is that also tweaks everything towards the other addictions, and it's just evil.
So incredible. And wasn't it even just last week were you talking to some senator about whatever?
Oh yeah, that's a whole other way God's raised us up. So Jen comes from a long line of attorneys, and there was this moment like about 4 months ago, God spoke to us both in prayer that he was going to start using us in legal matters, like to construct laws and to actually that it was actually a pillar of what we were doing. Yeah. And I was like, Lord, I just not me. Like, one, I don't like politicians at all. And it was literally 2 weeks after he tells us that we're at an event. We're with Tim Tebow and his group. It's a people fighting human trafficking. And they invite us up on stage to speak to the Texas state legislature. And if we get laws set there, 22 states often just follow Texas's laws. And so they're like, well, what laws would you guys propose? And well, the odd thing is, because God told us that, we were already ready. Like, it would be this, this, and this. And they also asked me to do it. And I'm like, I'm not the guy for this. Trust me. Jen, I actually have never seen a presentation so well done. And she had like 20 minutes to prepare. But it was the Holy Spirit was just all over. And she's just like, boom, doom, 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 doom. And then Tim's doing this. And I was like, oh, Lord, like, this is a setup. It's all a setup. So we're like, okay, we did this and we're still talking. They want us to actually fly back down. They want her to fly back down, but we always go as a married couple now. And then we get invited to Washington, D.C. and the same thing, but it's not just gaming. It's also how, like in digital online spaces, how do we protect kids inside AI? And I did tell them, I'm like, well, you guys keep making laws for what's here. You need to make laws for what's here. And it was a really hard discussion because I didn't know this was such a gift, but it is such a gift from God. I just see like the obvious, that's going to be right there soon. My soon is different. It's kind of like a biblical soon. Like I'm always wrong on the timeline. It's far out there, but it is, I've been right about what comes. But yeah, so he's just been using us in really amazing and unexpected ways. And I'll be honest, also uncomfortable often. So.
Oh. Listen, Lee, I'm sorry that the time has run out. And it's so good. Listen, give us your parting shot. Just go for it. What do you want to leave us with to leave us inspired and encouraged and get back in the fray?
The thing I always try to impart is the value that you have as a human. And if you don't know it, seek him and ask him to show you that value. Because there is something that will occur in you that's unstoppable, and it's him that will occur in you. And I mean, you know my story, but yeah, I want people to understand their worth. I want Generation Alpha, Z, Millennials, Boomers, all of them, Xers like me, just to know how much God loves them, and that you can't measure it. And he wants you to be a son or daughter.
Yeah, that's good. Can people be in touch with you?
Absolutely. Luke at haven.gg, HAIVEN.gg.
And social media stuff as well. Brilliant. We'll put that in the chat. Luke, Richey, Gravity Jack, Jen, stunning stuff. Keep it up. We cheer you on, and the influence will be potentially to billions, no?
Yeah. I mean, we have a reach right now coming into minimum viable product of a $250 million. And that's without us even trying. That's just God doing what he does. So,
Wonderful. Listen, folks. Oh, God is so good and so big, and this world is so big, and we've all got a role to play, and we're all part of this incredibly diverse team. And what does it look like for you to serve him? Just pray a prayer, surrender to him, and Lord, here I am, send me in whatever space. Listen, you can think of people that would love to hear this podcast. Can you gossip it to your friends? Can you give us a great review on Spotify or iTunes so that more people get to hear about what's going on and just these great stories that stir faith? I'd like to thank Anne and Tom Stiff, the editing, Mike Stanley with the mixing. Next week, a very different story, a very different guest. They're all so beautifully different, but I no doubt, again, you'll be inspired. So in the meantime, have a great week. God bless you, and toodaloo.